So I am excited about this next presenter because she is the first technology leader to present an experience report from higher education. So yeah, sure, over the years we've had many faculty members and researchers, but not from someone who's actually responsible for the thousands of things that need to be done correctly to support students, faculty, researchers, fundraising, administration, and so many more things that's required to run a modern university. Sophie Harrison is a director of Agile product delivery at University College London, which was founded in 1826 and has 51,000 students who are selected from an applicant pool that is larger than either Cambridge or Oxford. She's going to share a story of how she's helping advance some of the most important missions we have as a species. Here's Sophie.
Thank you, Jean. I thought you said that Sophie Harrison was founded in 1856 for a minute then, and I was going to have to correct things. But welcome, and thank you, everybody, for having me here today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about University College London and why I'm on a mission to introduce Agile and DevOps into the higher education sector. So a little bit about me. My name is Sophie Harrison, and I am the Director of Delivery. And I work within the Information Services Group within UCL. I've been at UCL for 2.5 years now. I've always worked in IT delivery and transformation spaces, but this is my first higher education role. So prior to UCL, I worked as a consultant for a while, and I've worked in the semiconductor industry and e-commerce as well. And to tell you a little bit about UCL, how many people here have heard of UCL, by the way? Okay, great. This is good. Loads of you. We're very well known in the UK. Perhaps the brand gets a little bit confused globally. Sometimes people think we're talking about UCLA or somewhere else. But we're a big and complex university. So we're very research intensive. We're the second in the UK for research power, and we're very proud of that. We've created some pretty cool people. We've got 30 Nobel laureates and counting, hopefully. There's 51,000 students at the moment. So we are a big university, and we have 16,000 members of staff supporting and running that whole machine. And we're a pretty cool place, if I say so myself. We've been pretty disruptive since the start. So founded in 1826, we were one of the first universities, or we were the first university in England to welcome students from any religion or social background. We were also the first university in England to welcome women into university education. So we've always been doing things that were pretty progressive and brave and forward-thinking. And then I joined the Information Services Group, and I have to say, and with the most respect to all my wonderful colleagues who've been working there for a long time, we were not a very disruptive or progressive or brave organization. We were an organization that's probably a familiar story to you that have worked in IT before, but we were a very traditional IT department. I inherited the project delivery function, and we had a long list of projects. Nobody could tell me if it was the right list of projects, but we had a long list of projects we were meant to be working on. And I have a wonderful colleague, Tom, who's my counterpart, and he looks after operations. And the story goes, the way it would generally work is there'd be an annual round of funding. Some people would be lucky and we'd work on their projects, and some people would be unlucky and they'd probably just go off and buy the thing they wanted in the first place with a different budget. And then we would grapple with trying to ignore architects until we wanted to release something, and then just chuck it at Tom and his team, who had to look after it for the foreseeable. I'm seeing nods. It's surely a familiar story. But the opportunity as it comes along. This slide, I'll give you a summary of what we're trying to say here. But in the last couple of years, we've developed a strategy. And by 2027, we wanted to have in place a much more improved university. And the strategy is really to focus on improving what we're already very good at. So building upon our research and our education strengths. We also then wanted to streamline our educational offering. And there's a theme within our strategy, which is really to reduce the time and effort that our students and staff are having to take on those administrative and transactional pieces of work. There's also some great stuff in the strategy there about improving the culture, making sure it's a culture of openness and inclusion. And of course, with all strategies, there's this financial part of it, which is to make sure we do it in a financially sustainable way. But what we're faced with here is really a huge amount of change that we need to deliver in the next 4 years. And the challenge for us in information services was really to understand how we're going to go about doing that when it would take us a good 2 or 3 years to deliver any one single project. So What is it that we wanted to do? So we started an agile transformation. And the real reason we started this is, of course, the pandemic hit, and that's been the force to change the ways of working for many organizations over the last few years. But that pandemic showed us that we could change the way we were working pretty rapidly, and we had to, within a few months, provide a digital education experience for our students. There was no other option. We had to continue working as a university, and we needed people to be able to continue being taught and continue teaching. So we've proven to ourselves we could do things differently, and this gave us the confidence to actually go forwards. Rather than rewinding back to the old way of working, we were going to move forwards in this new way. And we agreed on these four shifts that would really underpin our transformation. And I would encourage all of you to do something similar if you're embarking on a transformation, because they've been timeless and we keep coming back to them over and over again. Number one, I think I heard David talk about this yesterday morning, product over project. We did away with that list of projects. It was tricky and it was quite radical, but we said no more projects. We're going to organize ourselves into product teams, and we have some platform teams as well. And that's not just my department in delivery, but we're taking all of Tom's teams in operations. We're actually bringing the architects into the fold. We're bringing security into the fold. If you work in information services, you're now going to be working in a product or a platform team. So we've organized into 40 standing teams, and they are funded long-term. So we've got rid of that annual budgeting cycle, and they're organized into 8 portfolios. Experience over technology was something that many of our teams found an interesting idea, that we were suddenly not going to talk about technology at the forefront of what we're doing. But just as we've heard in many of the talks over the last couple of days, really understanding what is the outcome we're trying to achieve and focusing on experience as something different to the technology. They don't need to be coupled together. And I'm going to give you an example of how that worked in a moment. Empowering over control, this was really that cultural piece within our IT department, making sure that we went away from this command and control mindset, but being really clear with our teams what it was we're trying to achieve, and then letting them work out how to do it. And being able to remove all of the blockers and the things that are in the way and the things they needed permission to do, because they're now in a team with people who were originally those blockers or those things they needed to navigate. And then co-create over order take, and this was really about changing how we're perceived within the university and how we work with others. We were quite a subservient organization. If I can just tell you a little bit about UCL, you can imagine we have all of our faculties, and they have led by deans with all the different academic departments. You've also then got the offices of the president and provost, and that's got our departments such as advancement and marketing and strategy. And then you've got professional services group. And as we heard earlier today from Jason, being in that corporate IT place is quite difficult. And you're often just receiving orders. Please integrate this, please do that, make this happen. But actually being able to come to the table and establish ourselves as we like to think of it, co-architects of the future. The future is digital. You need digital leaders to help contribute to that. And so we really want to position ourselves as being co-creators rather than order takers. The team used to say to me when I joined, well, what is this transformation going to look like when we're done? And I was at pains to explain we are never going to be done. It doesn't finish. It is a product in itself that we have a transformation. But nonetheless, I did need to hang my hat somewhere. So I came up with these 5 yellow boxes. So this slide is 2.5 years old. But these yellow boxes have really persisted as well. And I'm really pleased to say that we are doing all of these things now. So our teams can deliver value to UCL iteratively and frequently. We're no longer doing this big bang, wait till everything is perfect until it gets released. And that's something that the university has to learn to trust in us, because remember, previously, we would be delivering something and running off and never coming back for another couple of years till you get more funding. So the idea that we're going to release it, it doesn't look perfect, but we promise we're still there with you on this journey to make it better, is a journey that we're still on. Those portfolios I mentioned, we have all of our teams grouped into 8 different areas. Really importantly, there's a portfolio owner and sponsor for each of those portfolios that's aligned to the functional area of the university. So I'll give you an example. Student experience is a portfolio. Our registrar of UCL is the portfolio owner of student experience. We have another one, People, Money, and Insight. Our Chief People Officer, she is the portfolio owner of that portfolio. So we can be really clear that it's not a role somebody like me trying to decide what it is we're actually working on. We're empowering those portfolios with somebody from the university sat at the table with us to make sure we are prioritizing and working on the most important thing we can. Delivery data is transparent and mastered in one place. You may be surprised to know how much people really objected to this at the start, right? I don't tell you what I'm working on. I've got it on my own Excel. None of that anymore. I was careful not to be too, I was totally technology agnostic about this at this point, but as it happens, we've now got everything within Jira, and that's working pretty well for us. So we have everything at the team level and rolled up into the portfolio, and I can take a look across all 8 portfolios. And as the transformation continues, and with our plans going forwards, we get more and more of our development data and our service data becoming more and more transparent as well. And then there's 2 cultural ones at the end here. People can understand and perform their role in the organization, and there's a culture of learning and continuous improvement. And this is critical because this move of moving everybody into product teams did affect roles in a positive way. You know, we didn't do any redundancies or anything like that, but we said to people, look, you're going to have to make a decision here. These layers we have of management and team leadership, those skills you have are very valuable. We still need that, but we're actually expecting you to align into one of the roles in a team. So maybe your skill set is more on the technical side, and we can find a platform ownership role for you or a technical lead role. Maybe you're more an organizer, a delivery person, in which case come and join our delivery team. But making sure we were really clear from the get-go that the roles are changing a little bit. We're expecting more of a T-shaped contribution, and we need to make sure these teams keep moving and delivering. Continuous learning and continuous improvement, we continue to invest in that. It's not something that we can scrimp on. And just to, again, put it into context, we've got many colleagues in the team who have been working in the university for an incredibly long time. And so I'm asking them to, jump in the swimming pool with me and go swimming in this Agile and DevOps world. And they've never swum before. So we really have to make sure that we're keeping the education piece and the continuous improvement piece continually invested in. So I wanted to tell you a couple of stories about how this has then played out in reality. And the first example is about implementing our new recruitment service. And again, a bit of history here. We had previously been out as a project and procured a new solution for a recruitment system. And then the project was beginning in a waterfall manner. This was back in kind of 2018, 19. And it was difficult, and we couldn't have the right people in the room at the right time. And then the pandemic came along, and we just had to shelve that one for a moment. And that was absolutely fine. And then post-pandemic, we looked at this and we said, well, let's look at this in the new way. What is it that we're trying to achieve? And at this point, a new head of recruitment had joined the organization, and she was the perfect product owner you could wish for. Somebody that was really open-minded to say, I appreciate there's complexities here, there's a lot going on, but I'm open to working with you in a different way. And so again, thinking about that experience first, what was it we were trying to achieve? What was it we wanted to do? And we said, well, we want to reduce the time it takes to hire. At the moment, it takes 127 days from wanting to open a role to being able to recruit somebody. And it's too long. It's taking us a really long time. And we want to increase the number of people that are applying. People were completely put off applying for jobs at UCL because, and I don't know if any of you have ever tried to do it, but there was such an unfriendly interface that they had to interact with. You couldn't just upload your CV or click through from LinkedIn. You had to copy and paste bits of your CV into many different areas on the web page, and it was really unpleasant. So we said, we're going to implement it, we're going to try it incrementally, we're just going to get the smallest bit out we can, and then we're going to get feedback from it. And the response was brilliant. I'm glad to include a quote from Angela here, who said that by agreeing a minimum viable product and using Agile rather than the traditional perfect or nothing approach, we were able to realize the benefits of the new system much quicker. It was a more pragmatic approach and created less conflict. And I'm really pleased to say that we now have a time to hire. It was 127 days. We've got that down at the moment to 48 days, which is a great improvement. And we still have more to do because we're still working with Angela to continually, incrementally improve the service. A second story I wanted to share was about experience as well. So we have a massive, monolithic, on-premise ERP system. I'm sure some of you will have similar situations. Ideally, we're just going to rip that out and put a new one in. But we all know that that's not something that you should undertake lightly, and we're probably not in the best place from a process and policy perspective to do that. We will go to the cloud at some point, but we are where we are now. The image you can see on the left there is a snapshot of a little bit of what that experience looks like if you are going to try and book a day's leave. It takes you at least half a day to book the day's leave, so you need to do a few at once. Before you get to this page, you do need to go on the VPN. And you need to be able to click then on the self-service, the absence management. When you click on that, it gives you a page, and you need to put in some information that system definitely already knows about you, and then you can book a day off. So what are we going to do? We're not going to rip out the whole system yet. It will come in time. We decided to decouple the idea of this system of record from a system of experience and quickly start building this really nice, responsive, UX-first approach. And we come up with something we called Inside UCL. You can see a clip of it on the right there. You can access it on your website. You can access it on your phone. You don't need to go on the VPN. And it just started off with the My Details and My Time Off. And you can click on Time Off. It shows you how much time you have available. 2 clicks, your time is booked. And we realize this is now a really nice digital channel that can support those conversations that are experience-led rather than technology. So on the left, you'll see interest to declare, your declarations of interest. This was a data point that, as a university, we were a bit concerned whether we really had enough information about whether people did have to declare any interest working at the university. And you can imagine, sometimes due to relationships with certain research environments, or perhaps because of certain political issues going on, we want to be able to know where those conflicts may arise. And so again, we asked, what's the problem we're trying to solve here? We want to be quicker at capturing that information. And what we're hearing is people saying it takes too long in the old system. It's really unintuitive. I don't know how to do it. And so it becomes a perfect contender to add to Inside UCL. Again, you can see a picture of it there. By default, it checks whether you have any declarations. You can say, no, you don't. Press 1 click, and you're done. It's so much easier. And on the right, a similar situation, the training dashboard, mandatory training. In the past, I can almost guarantee the suggested solution to this would be, can we have a new training platform? But actually, our training platform, once you get into it, is not too bad. But the problem is people can't remember if they've done the training, and managers don't know if their teams have done the training. And we've got a few different training platforms, and that's perhaps OK for different scenarios. So again, bring it all together. We're really quick at developing this now. We've built automated tests, so you can run the whole pack in a couple of hours, and we can just quickly add new things on here. We can start to test with deploying things to one user group and seeing how they respond and testing it with another. A funny story, when we went to go live with the first iteration of Inside UCL, we were talking to the service desk, and this was earlier in our transformation journey, so they were not quite as comfortable with the whole idea of releasing a beta. And they said, well, send us your user documentation that you're planning to write. And we said, we're not planning to write any user documentation. We'll write some stuff for you, but our users are just going to know how to use this thing, otherwise we failed. And there was just that moment where they thought, wow, they really are trying something different now. So just to finish, I'm trying to start a bit of a movement in higher education. Over the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to speak at higher education industry conferences and meet lots of people in similar roles to mine. And what I've discovered is Agile and DevOps is not happening in higher education. Lots of IT departments are feeling exactly the same way that we felt a couple of years ago. But there's appetite to start exploring. And just a couple of weeks ago, I was working with PA Consulting, and we hosted an event where we had 75 IT leaders from across different universities in the UK all come together to take part in an immersive Agile experience so they could see what it would be like to do a big room planning of their own. So there's so much appetite there. So my ask for you is I can't do it all by myself. So I really want to expand my network of people who wouldn't mind getting phoned up, getting an email and saying, would you mind talking to so-and-so who has some questions about Agile and DevOps? Because there's so much interest, appetite, and I'm going to need some help spreading the word. So thank you very much, and goodbye.